My name's Jessie. I live in this van right here. His name's Hulk. I am stray with me, and I also travel with my dog, Shasta. She's a big old German Shepherd. She's not in this video right now because I'm visiting my mom. So she's in the house playing with my mom's dog. But let's just jump right in. So the first question is, what is stealth camping and how do you do it? So stealth camping is an option for a lot of people who live in vans who also live in cities. I am a huge fan of camping out in BLM and national forests because it's a lot quieter, and having a dog that is predisposed to barking a lot because she's just a guard dog. Sleeping in cities is very not fun. It's not fun at all, and I haven't done it in weeks, months. I just hate it. I do it when I have to, and I have little tricks for that, but I can make a whole nother video on that. But basically how you do it is you're just parking on the street, like in a neighborhood, or some people kind of have their own like favorite spots that they kind of look out for when they're in cities, and yeah, that's what it is. Pretty simple. A lot of van lifers do it. Some people do it more than others because they might have a location dependent job or just have to do more things in cities. How can you travel in a van during COVID? So the answer to that question is different for all sorts of people. I pretty much hunkered down for the main part of the shutdown in March and April. And then a lot of my friends live in Middle Bend, Oregon, and it was just kind of starting to open up a lot more, and I knew I was wanting to spend the summer there. So around May 1st was when Kate Brown was starting to open things up, at least in the first phase. I was dating someone at the time, or starting to date someone, and I didn't want to have to rely on him all the time because it was new. So I waited until things opened for me to come up there. And once I did, I just stayed put for about 6 months. I stayed there until mid-November, once it started getting too cold, and came back down here to California to stay with my family and bounce around and spend time with them for the holidays. But because I am a little bit more kind of careful, now I have health insurance. At the time I didn't have health insurance, so I didn't want to get sick. But on top of that, I have a dog, and if I am completely incapacitated by COVID-19, I can't take care of her. And that was a big determining factor for me of how much I wanted to travel. My plan for the future, though, is to head south, follow the weather, and for me, I'm going to start getting regularly tested because I've been moving around so slow and I don't really expose myself to a lot of people. I haven't been tested yet. I haven't really had any symptoms or any reason to get tested. There was a close call once, but I was just waiting for my boyfriend at the time to see if he was positive. He was negative, so I didn't have to go to get a test. But I think it's really important that a lot of van lifers do get tested a lot when they're traveling, especially crossing borders between different states. And I think California is massive, so if you're traveling within California, you should be getting tested anyway. But it's all up to the person because you can't really dictate what other people do. So for me, I just haven't moved around a lot, and that's how I stay safe during COVID. This is a question I get all the time, and it's, are you afraid? That's yes and no. And at the beginning, totally. It was something I was always thinking about. My anxiety is like travel based and about the unknown and not having control over what's going to happen day to day. So when I move to a new town, I feel a lot more anxiety because of the unknown, and not knowing where to sleep. But the benefit of living in a house on wheels is that you can move anytime you want. So if you're uncomfortable or scared, you can move into a different town or neighborhood if you're in a place that makes you feel a little nervous and afraid. But overall, like, I've never wanted to let fear dictate my life and how I live my life, and all the experiences I want to have. So a long time ago, I just decided I'm not going to let fear stop me anymore, and it's been great. So this is a more recent question I actually got by someone on Instagram. They sent me a DM asking this. Do you have issues with police or forest rangers? The answer to that so far has been no. I have gotten one ticket in a spot where I was sleeping. I just woke up to a ticket. But in terms of like, do I get a knock on my van often by cops or forest rangers, I've heard of some people not getting hassled by forest rangers, but them just stopping by and say, hey, just so you know, it's like a 2-week limit. If they've been there around like 10 days, they might just check in and say, hey, like, are you planning on moving? And this isn't everywhere because some places are so remote, they can't really staff to regulate that. So I've seen lots of homeless people in national forests that have just stayed there for months on end until they close the forest roads for the season. So no, for me, for either of those, I actually get hassled more by homeless people. I've had 2 knocks now by homeless people. One was like at 5 a.m. in the morning, that was the first one, and so I just hopped in the front once Shasta stopped barking, so I assumed that they'd walked away. Hopped in the front, drove off. And then the second one was a bit more recent. This was like 4 months ago. Another, like, probably someone having some mental issues came and knocked and started talking, and I knew it wasn't a homeless person. I knew it wasn't someone who lived in the neighborhood. So once again, Shasta, when she stopped barking, I knew that the person had walked away, and I hopped up front and left. So anytime that happens, I don't have any qualms about hopping the front and leaving. So that's also why I don't really drink when I'm stealth camping, because I might have to hop in the front and go. So now this one is one that every single van lifer gets asked in person or online by people who don't really know what they're doing, and that is, where do you go to the bathroom? Everyone kind of has similar answers. Most of the time I'm camping out in the forest, so I go out into the forest and you dig a hole 6 to 8 inches deep. You want to make sure you are 200 feet away from a trail, a road, water source, camp. People don't really know that sometimes, and I've had a lot of issues with my dog eating people's poops, and that is not fun. So 200 feet away from campsites, please, so that my dog doesn't end up eating your shit. But another thing I feel like people don't really talk about is when you have to go to the bathroom inside of your van. And I have unfortunately been forced to poop in my van once. You just double bag it, knot it, toss it in the first trash can that you have access to. It's kind of an emergency, and I didn't really feel like driving to find a gas station 10 minutes away. It was like I need to go now. But I always keep a funnel and a can of coolant, an empty can, because these are nice and thin, so I can slide 2 and I can hold how much of these? I think these are like a gallon? Yeah, so I have 2-gallon jugs that I put a funnel in and pee into when I have to pee in the van when I'm self-camping. And most van lifers have, if they don't have a toilet, have some sort of system like this that they pee into. So that's me. That's my pee jug. And then when I'm in cities and like working a lot in coffee shops or libraries, I just use the bathrooms there. If I'm driving, I often go to rest stops. I'm usually needing to stop to pee way more than I need to let my dog out, because she, for some reason, just doesn't really pee when we travel, which is nice. But it's always me. I always have to stop anyway. But yeah, so that's where I go to the bathroom. Oh, and there's something I thought I should mention too about peeing in like jugs and things like this. A lot of people don't really know where you should dump it. So if I do have some of that, some pee in my pee jugs, when I'm going out camping, I dig a hole, a few. It's kind of good to spread it out because that's a gallon, and I have 2 of them. So if they're both full, it's 2 gallons of pee. It's not the best. It's super acidic. It's not good. It's natural, but it's a high concentration that you're dumping in a certain spot out in the woods. So again, bury it. I try to dig about like a foot-long hole, foot deep hole, and dump it in sections. But you can also, I've dumped it in porta potties because that's where you're peeing anyway. And then I also will just flush them in toilets. So I'll do a couple like flushes to get the whole thing empty, because it can be just like a lot of liquid to dump in at once. So I end up doing 2 or 3. But you can dump it in any toilet and just flush it down. So this is another really common question that van lifers get. How do you shower? And it can seem like we're all dirty hippies. I hope I tried to present myself a little bit better, put a little bit of makeup, but normally we aren't so made up, and because we live in our vans and we're just going out to go hiking or do activities like that. So pre-COVID, a lot of van lifers used gym memberships, and most of us have Planet Fitness because they're everywhere and it's super cheap. It's $20 a month to use any facility in the entire United States. But of course, with COVID, all the shutdowns of gyms, I don't think I know of a single gym in California right now that's open. For a little while, I think it was about a month when I was in Bend, the gym there opened, so that was really nice. But part of why I like to travel with the weather is that you can use public showers too. So I use like beach showers, that's what I meant. And then also I loved when I was in Bend to hop in the river, and just like cleans your body and makes you feel really just so much better. Because I have curly hair, I don't need to wash my hair as much. For a while, I think I'd washed it once in 2 months. Now it's about, if I have access to a shower, it's like once a month or once every 2 weeks. So it just depends, but I really don't need to wash my hair very often. So that's why I can also prolong how long I can like or shower sort of. But then there's like those portable solar showers that you can hang. I usually hang mine on my ladder. That's on the other side that you can kind of see it in the store. And last is one of my favorite questions, and I love to answer it on Instagram because I think it just helps inspire people to get out there and find new places to stay and explore, especially if they're from that state. So I love Oregon. It is probably one of my favorite states so far, and I haven't seen a whole lot. I move very slowly when I travel, so I've really just been in California, Oregon, and Arizona in the van. But yeah, Oregon is one of my favorite places. You can very easily find beautiful places to camp, and it's so common. There's so many van lifers around. You end up meeting people all the time, which is really fun. And there's everything. Like, one of my favorite places is this desert in Oregon. It's in Eastern Oregon. And then you can, like, Bend is a really fun town to stay, and that's why I kind of use that as my home base. I can go to the desert that's in Eastern Oregon, or then drive another different 4 hours in another direction and go to the coast. It is beautiful. The Oregon coast is something, like, it took me forever to go see, but it was great. So that's Oregon is one of my favorite places. And Sandpoint, Idaho is also a really awesome town. But yeah, I'm constantly expanding to this list, so that answer will probably change, which is probably also why it's one of my favorites. So, all right, so that is some of my van life frequently asked questions, and there's plenty that I haven't mentioned that I will probably include in another video if you're interested. And if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed because I am planning on doing a lot more with this channel, and I'm really excited for that. My blog is under construction right now, but I will link it, so if any of you end up watching this later, you can go find me. And my Instagram is @straywith.me. And yeah, and Shasta also has an Instagram. It's @Shasta the Adventure Dog. We'll see you in a week. Sorry, there's some birds flying over. Huge flock of geese, Jesus. So pre-COVID, a lot of us have, what's it called?